Let's have Hon.Owen Baya here, member for Kilifi North.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I would like to first say that I support this amendment bill, and also say that I have a lot of respect for the Honourable Ameniko. And now that she has brought this very important amendment bill, I think my respect for her even goes up. One of the things that we need to look at is the principal object of this bill. That we have had policies in this country on safety. We have had what we would call guidelines on safety in schools. We have even the hardware. Schools now are built with doors that open and revolve both ends, and a lot of things that have been done. But there has been one thing that has been missing, and this is what the Honourable Ameniko is trying to do, to bring safety education into the curriculum. So that as a child steps into the school, one of the courses that that child will take is safety measures while in school. How to react when there's a fire drills. They should be taught to a child. How to react when there is a gunman in the compound. How to react when there is an accident. How to react when there is an accident or incident in the lab. Very recently, when pupils were doing examinations at 4-4, I think there was a chemical that reacted and we lost a life and we did other things. But the kids, if they had been given information and the curriculum had information on how to handle disaster, probably would not have had the disasters that we had during the examination time. That's why this bill talks about disaster risk, disaster risk reduction management, whatever it is. What is important, Mr. Speaker, is that we equip our children with skills on how to manage disaster at school so that school is safe. Mr. Speaker, you realize that today in the US, there's a lot of been shooting in schools where a gunman comes or a pupil draws a gun and kills people. But in that melee, you find that there isn't anything the children can do because they've not been prepared for such a disaster. In the first world now, I think children are being equipped and new policies and curriculums are developed to ensure that children are well equipped to handle a gun drama when someone brings a gun to school. Same thing, Kenya and the schools here are copying a lot of things from the Western world. And our children are learning a lot of things from the internet and all that. You will not be surprised when we have gun dramas also in school. How prepared are our children to handle disaster while in school? I've had situations where children have gone out for activities, games, and a child breaks his leg. And you see, these kids are at a loss on how to handle that. How to handle a person who has fainted, how to handle a person who has broken his leg, how to handle a person who's been injured one way or the other. Why? Because they're not prepared. Now, this bill asks the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development, it is asking them to infuse disaster reduction, risk reduction within the curriculum and teach it in school. Probably they'll have modules for lower primary, modules for upper primary, and modules for secondary school. That's what I expect the Kenya curriculum to do, Kenya Institute of Curriculum to do, to infuse disaster risk reduction in the curriculum so that children are able to handle. There's something else which this bill, if you look at MB, incorporates psychosocial skills and services to students in certain curriculum development, Psychosocial skills. The psychosocial skills that are needed here are skills that are able to prepare the child both psychologically and also physically on how to handle the skill. This should be put in the curriculum so that while the children undergo what they undergo when there is a disaster, there's the trauma that comes with it. How do the children handle the trauma that comes with seeing somebody die at school because a building has collapsed? Seeing that a brother or a sister or a neighbor has had an injury at school. How does a child handle that trauma? For example, the recent incident that we had in the labs during the examination. How did that mishappening in the lab affect the performance of these other students? Were they prepared to handle disaster, both at the physical and the psychological aspect. Now, Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development, the way I know, I think it has professionals, people who are well versed and very knowledgeable, who are able to build within the curriculum modules that are able to help and teach these children how to handle it. If you look at the first part, Mr. Speaker, of the amendment, that it incorporates personal safety skills, self-defense, demonstrations on security drills, first aid, detection and response to weapons, and evacuation procedures in the curriculum. These are the things that the Honorable Amaniku would like to see in the curriculum. How do we evacuate kids when there's a disaster at school? How has the curriculum prepared the children for an evacuation? You know, when I was in school in some other far countries, there was always this bell that would ring deep in the middle of the night. And you hear a bell is ringing and you are told it's a fire disaster. And all of us would run and gather at one point, the fire point. And then there'll be guys who will come and count us and count everybody. And they will take action on the people who never came out. Why? Because that was part of the curriculum of that institution. That fire disaster drills must be conducted every month. Every month. Today, if we went to our universities here, the nearest, University of Nairobi, today, if anybody had that fire alarm, you know, you'd had probably 5 or 6 people come out, and the rest of the people would be waiting to see the fire near their door, and then that's when they would know there's disaster. Why? Because this has not been calculated in the curriculums that we have had. So, Mr. Speaker, this is a very important piece of legislation, and I just hope that it will not just legislation in paper, but we will see classes for students. I want to give you an example, Mr. Speaker, a very painful example. The constituency I come from, which I manage, has a university, Pwani University, and they're having their graduation tomorrow, which I congratulate them for. But this university every year loses about 10 students by drowning, disaster at sea. Why? Because these freshers come to the university. They've come from a place where there is no ocean, there's no sea. They come there and they're excited about it. So the first week, they go to the ocean. Even when you have signs all over to show, please, don't go if you don't know how to swim. These kids get into that because of that excitement at university. You know, after 2 days, you hear, we are looking for a kid who disappeared. After 1 day, you say a body was discovered. They lose almost every year, 10 freshers will go. Why? Because they have not been equipped on how to handle disaster at sea. So we lose students. But if these students had been taught that when you're at sea and this happens to you, then this is how you react, we would be saving lives. So this is something that is really practical, and it is needed not only at even high school or primary school. It should even be a 101 course at the university to equip students. Like that university, I tell you that every time we have to go out there and look for a body. A child who doesn't know how to swim attempted to swim. We have had swimming pool death. Why? Because the kids do not know how to react when they're in swimming pool and they're being defeated. So, Mr. Speaker, this is a very important bill. And one of the things that I would urge the Minister of Education and the able Professor Magoha is to move with speed to save Kenyan lives by equipping these young people at school with the relevant skills so that we stop losing lives because of things we can prevent. Mr. Speaker, I support this amendment bill, that as it passes here, it becomes law, and it becomes law, we see the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development ensuring that the curriculum has been developed and kids are taught and equipped with the relevant skills to help them safeguard their lives and the lives of others. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.